Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Shelby. As you saw by the title of this video, I have a another books I've read video. So these books I actually read while I was in quarantine back in August. So it's been a minute since I filmed one of these videos, but I wanted to lump these all together because that's when I read them. So to start with, we'll start with Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did start this prior to being in quarantine, but I finished it during quarantine, so I included it. This book is about Nina Riva, whatever. Nina and her siblings and kind of the like craziness of their life. It talks a lot about like her parents and their relationship dynamics and how they became who they are, and then leading to Nina and her siblings with a twist at the end. And yeah, I thought it was really good. I have my Goodreads up so I can kind of go based off of that a little bit too. So I read this July 30th to August 14th. I will say it took me a while to read it because I had camp in the midst of that, which was like 8 or 9 days long, and so I was not able to read as much as I normally would. I gave this book a 4-star. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I honestly could read any one of her books and probably give them a 4 or 5-star, because that's kind of been the theme so far. But I said I loved this book. It took me a while because I was busy, blah 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 blah. I loved the Riva siblings. I love how June took in Hud instantly, which June is their mom, and Hud is their like half sibling. I hated Mick for so many different reasons. The setup of this book was amazing, telling the story of the origins of the family while telling the 24 hours before the fire was also amazingly done. So in the ending, there's a fire, essentially, which you don't know. I think in the beginning, if I remember correctly, you know that there's a fire, and it leads, like the chapters are set up like the 24 hours prior. So yeah, the first chapter says Malibu catches fire, and that's essentially that. But it's set up like, it'll do like 7 a.m. and then it'll skip to, I'll have like a little chunk that is the year in there. Yeah, I think it's fascinating how it goes like the 24 hours before the fire, which the last bit you'll find out how the fire starts. And it's also like an actual fire, but a metaphorical fire as well, because Mick and himself is a hot mess. Yeah, 24 hours before the fire. Spoilers, I love the twist of Casey coming in at the end, and Kit becoming like a big sister, because she always kind of wanted someone to take care of, you could tell, but like she's always been the one that's been taken care of and she doesn't like that. I like all of their different storylines and how they fit together. Like I said, they are siblings, but it's amazing to see like how their different personalities feed off of each other and stuff like that. And yeah, I would love like a book on like Nina's life as it progresses. I really liked Nina. There was something about her that I really thoroughly enjoyed, and yeah, I would not complain if there was a book solely based off of Nina. So this book kind of, there's characters in this: Daisy Jones and the Six, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and then her new one, Carrie Soto, is back. So those are all kind of in the same universe. So yeah, Taylor Jenkins Reid is creating her own little universe, and I'm here for it. So the next 3 go together. They're the Summer I Turned Pretty series. I will talk about them each individually, and then as a whole. So Summer I Turned Pretty. gave this a 2-star. I read this August 14th to August 15th, so in like a day and a half. This book, if I remember, it was okay. I'm not a Belly fan. I'm not a Conrad fan. I had watched the show before reading it, which probably was a mistake because they are vastly different. But I don't like Belly. She's very like focused on herself, which I guess this is like told from her perspective, so it makes sense. But and she's also like 15, so like she's just a typical 15-year-old girl, but it's frustrating. Yeah, when I told my sister that I was not a Conrad girl but I was a Jeremiah girl, she was shocked. I don't know, I just don't like Conrad, and that is through all 3 books. I do not like Conrad. I love Jeremiah. And yeah, I said this book is very much for a younger audience, which I knew going in, but I didn't realize how much of a younger audience it was. So yeah, there's that. Not a huge fan. Then It's Not Summer Without You. This book was heartbreaking. Yeah, it was heartbreaking because of the mom. And I gave this a 3. I read it again in like a day and a half. Better than the first one, but not super enjoyable. Still the love triangle of Conrad, Belly, and Jeremiah. Like, yeah, Jeremiah, sweetheart. I get it, you love her and you think that you all are meant to be, but she's playing you. She is playing you to make Conrad jealous. Like, it's obvious from the beginning, and that's frustrating to me because poor sweet Jeremiah, I just feel so bad for him. And Laurel is a boss. I love Laurel. Like, her coming and telling Mr. Fisher that they are keeping that house because that's what Susanna would want. Yes, queen. I love Laurel. And then also, like, Steven's really left out of the loop in this, which I get it. It's like a love story off of them, but poor Steven, left out. Yeah. I also liked that it showed how they all kind of grieved Susanna differently. And I liked that it showed that, because with this being like a book for a younger audience, showing how different people grieve is a good thing, because so often we just think that they're like, especially as a teenager, we just think that there's like one way to do things when it comes to grief, but this shows that that's not the case. And then, nope, that was one I already did. Then I have We'll Always Have Summer. This book I read again in a day and a half. It was better than the last 2. This one got a 4-star. No, this one got a 3-star. This got a 4-star. So they gradually got better, but still not super enjoyable. I just am not a huge fan of any of the main cast, like the main characters. And if I didn't, like, if I would not have known that this was a series, I would have definitely stopped at book 1. Like, but knowing that it's a series, I just had to finish it. And so that was unfortunate for me. But I continued to feel bad for Jeremiah. He really got the short end of the stick when it came to Belly and Conrad. I just feel so bad for him. And honestly, I ended up hating Conrad. Like, I was tolerating him enough. I didn't like him, but I ended up hating him because he's a jerk. He's just mean to everyone, and like, I get it, you're hurting, but there's also other people that are hurting as well, and you taking out on them is not helping anyone. He kind of was just very selfish, which I think that made it okay that him and Belly ended up together, because Belly is selfish too. Yeah, I'm glad that they ended up having a happily ever after, because then that means Jeremiah gets to be happily ever after with someone else. And it's kind of like, okay, of course Belly got what she wanted from the get-go. She wanted Conrad, of course that's what she got. And Conrad got what he wanted, and Jeremiah got dragged through the mud. And then Stephen just exists. He's just there. Mr. Fisher was a pushover, and Laurel seems to be like the only one that has her head on straight. And I will continue to love Laurel and think that she's amazing. I also really liked that Susanna had written letters for them. I think it was unjust and unfair that the letters got switched around. Yeah, I thoroughly was frustrated with that, because it's like, it's out of character for Susanna to mess up the letters. And like, I get it, she was going through cancer treatment and stuff, so maybe like that had an impact on things, but I just felt bad for Jeremiah. Right? Yeah, for Jeremiah, when he ended up with Conrad's letter. I was like, of course he did. Of course he did. My heart breaks for him. And then the last book that I read while quarantining was 11 Other Words by Christina Lauren. This book was very good as well. Again, like cabiny, beachy, love story vibes. I very much was going through a phase of that this summer, and I gave it a 4-star. I read this August 18th through 21st, so like 3.5, 4 days. But yeah, this book is good, slow in the beginning, which like a lot of books are, but I just felt like this one was a lot slower in the beginning than other books. And there's not backstory in the beginning, but I guess that's because you learn more backstory as the book goes on. It does have the every other chapter switch, like the then and now, which I thought was good. It was well done. I have become a fan of that. I used to not like when chapters switched like perspectives or then and now, but I have started enjoying that. I think this is one of the books that made me actually really enjoy that. But yeah, when I first started reading again this year, which I started with It Ends With Us. I started off my reading journey this year with that, and I was gonna read another Coho book and was like, no, it's got switching perspectives, I can't. So yeah, but I have started liking that. So the backstory is told in the switch chapter, whatever. There's a short prologue, and then it starts with now. It then flips to then, which says how many years it was. And I like the way that that was told. Is this the one that it says like how many years ago each time? Yeah, so then it says 11 years ago or whatever. So yeah, I liked that it said how many years ago. I think there was another one that I read that did that as well. I liked how the love story between Macy and Elliot was told. Each then chapter goes well. Like, it has things that go with the following now chapter, which I thought was interesting. Like, the then chapter would discuss stuff, and then the now chapter, like, they would be discussing those same things, or they would come up, and so I really liked that. The love story is very sweet, even with all its drama. I don't remember how much drama there was in this book, but apparently there was drama because I mentioned it. I like the way it was told. It doesn't feel rushed. It did have like slow parts, but once the story really got going, there wasn't as much slow parts. It almost made it feel real. And I said I'd probably read this book again, but now thinking about it, honestly, I probably won't. There's other books that I have read since then that I feel more apt to read. This book and Every Summer After are very similar, and I prefer that book. So if I was going to read a book kind of like this, I would read that one over this one. So yeah, those are the 5 books I read during quarantine. Check out my other videos. I am going to film another book video right after this one. I'm not sure when these are going to go up, so you have to wait and see. I do have like a playlist on my channel that's called Book Club, I believe, and those have all of my book videos. So book videos that I made like a couple years ago when I first kind of started my channel up until now. So yeah, if you want a variety of book videos, check that out. Let me know how you would like these filmed. Like, should I do starting next year, I want to change up how I do my book videos. Like, I've liked the style of doing like talking about 5 or 6 books in a video, but would that be better to just do like at the end of every month, these are the books I read this month, because I think that might keep things more fresh in my memory, but also like it would get things to you guys quicker. Let me know what you think. Also, I have a Bookstagram. I believe that's linked down below. If not, it is let me pull it up real quick. It's Schpleebs Reads, which Schpleebs is spelled SCHPLEEBZ, Reads. That's my Bookstagram. Why is it not scrolling? But yeah, that's my Bookstagram. Check it out. Yeah, that's it for this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.